Yo, 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 what's good, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the MOP podcast. Here today, I got with me a huge special guest. Obviously, I'm a Denver Nuggets fan, and I got here with me today, JD Jackson from the West Wolf podcast. First of all, thanks for being here, brother. And second of all, how are you doing today, this morning?
And I'm doing real well, man. You know, I'm a 5 a.m. riser, so I'm at my peak right now. Thanks so much for having me on the show, man. It's a pleasure for sure.
Man, I appreciate your kindness, man. You're a very busy man, so obviously everybody go out and check his podcast. Obviously, it's on YouTube, the Westwood podcast. Obviously, this is the great JD Jackson. On his bio on Twitter, on X, or whatever it's called, he describes himself as a realistic Westbrook fan. So we're gonna get through Russell Westbrook career, the ups and downs, playing well, getting to the finals, then not doing so well with a team in Los Angeles and everything. So we're gonna have a great episode for y'all today. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Obviously, I do mostly my content in Spanish, but I know a little bit of English, and I really like doing this shit because I gotta get prepared. I gotta prepare the interview, the questions, and everything. So I really like playing this role. I'm joking. I can give you. If you are hot, I'm gonna dish out 15 assists. I'm gonna grab 10 boards. If my hand is hot, I'm gonna shoot every 30 times. Like yesterday, Jokic took like 7 times. So I'm so happy for you to be here, man. I'm so happy for you to be here, man.
Yeah, no problem at all. And you're doing it like Kobe Bryant in multiple languages, man. I can't speak any Spanish, so you said a little bit. Doing pretty good for me, man.
That's my goal. Kobe Bryant, English, Spanish, Chinese, Italian. So that's my goal. And
I hear you.
Let's get into it. If y'all got any questions for JD in the chat, if you got any question for JD, just put it in the chat. I'll be reading it. So let's get into it.
All right.
As a fan of Russell Westbrook, you describe yourself as a realistic Russell Westbrook fan. What do you mean by that?
So, social media has a problem with the difference between a fan and a stan. And so, like, a fan is a person who just enjoys someone's game, but has no problem critiquing, or, if he makes a bad play or things like that, has a bad night. I'll say quick, Russell Westbrook is stinking it up tonight. A stan is someone who doesn't think their favorite player does anything wrong. And so that's what I'm trying to distinguish between the two when I say that. Is that I'm a fan of his game, his tenacity, things like that. But hey, I'll say he's turning the ball over too much. He's got to hit a shot. I'll say all those things as well.
Yeah, like all the players, not right. Oh, they got the most points, but they don't mention the bad things. It's the coach fault. It's the role players fault. Even though we are in a superstar league, but that's another topic for another day. The same with me, I'm a huge Jokic fan. When he plays like shit on defense, I call him out. When he balls out, I say it. So that's a great point to start the podcast. So let me ask you this. This is my first question. As a fan of Russell Westbrook, how did you first become drawn to his game?
Well, I've been watching Russ since UCLA.
Wow.
It's just the passion and fire that he plays with. Me and him are the same age. And so it's one I just aspire and passion he plays with. He doesn't take any plays off. And I love two-way players, right? And so some of my favorite players in history are Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Hakeem Olajuwon. So I love those players that can play both sides of the ball, because there's not just one side of basketball. And so that's what drew me to Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, and Russ, if I'm not mistaken, Russ came into the league like with a reputation of a defender, right?
That's correct.
When he came out of UCLA, right?
Exactly. He was a Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year. That's what he was known for. Russell Westbrook wasn't a point guard per se by scouting reports. He learned how to play point guard in the NBA, and that's what's so incredible about what he's done in the NBA. That's not what his thing was. He learned it while being in the NBA with Scott Brooks, and got to give Scott Brooks a lot of credit, because like he said, well, he's my point guard. Despite everyone saying that he was not.
Definitely. I didn't know that. I know that he came out like with a reputation of a defender, but I didn't know that. So that's a great point. We always, learn something. Let me ask you this. This is my second question. What's one moment or achievement in his career that stands out the most to you?
I would say, well, there's two moments. One achievement, no one thought that triple double record in a single season would ever be broken. That, like, I know it's cliche, but that's incredible that he was able to do that, and do it in such a way that was just so iconic and things like that. So, look, hitting the buzzer beater versus the Denver Nuggets,
Oh yeah,
eliminating
at the end of the
the,
season, right? God damn, yeah, I
yes,
remember that.
yes. That was just an incredible moment, and it solidified the MVP for him. And before I move on to the second one, I do want to say, because I try to say as much as I can, Russell Westbrook did not win MVP because he averaged a triple double. He won an MVP because he was the most clutch player in the NBA, and it was by far. It was the moments at the end of games. That's why he won MVP. I hate this. Oh, he just won it because he averaged triple double. That's absolutely not true. I watched all 82 of those games, and you thought if you were within 5 of any of those games in the last like 2 or 3 minutes, you were just going to win because he was just going to make sure you did. That's why he won league MVP for sure.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, and we go back to the title of this video: the misconception, the miseducation. You know, I took some inspiration from Lauryn Hill, but it's like, oh, he's stealing rebounds from his teammates. You know, oh, Russell Westbrook, all this and the other. I mean, he got like 42 triple doubles during that season, I think.
Yep, that's correct.
That he was crazy. Obviously, it was a must-see thing watching Russell Westbrook play every night. We was talking off air about, I was saying something about KD not so nicely. You know, when KD left, and then he said, "Oh, I can't win with those cats." What did Russell? What Russell Westbrook did? He carried the team into the playoffs. I think they got eliminated by the Jazz that year, right?
Houston Rockets.
Oh yeah. That was the next year with PG zero rings. I call them PG zero rings. But and then another thing in that season as well, it's like Ross got the OKC Thunder to the 6th seed, right?
Yep, that's correct.
And something similar happened with Jokic, that he got one of his 3 MVPs being a 6th seed. What do you think about this notion that you know, as you said, he only won the MVP because he averaged a triple double, something that no player has ever done since Oscar Robertson. What do you make about, you know, the seeding when it comes to MVP?
I don't mind in the situations in which those two won the MVP. It's most valuable player, and I know most people think that has to go to whoever the best player on the 1 or 2 seed is. I get it. But the floor of those teams were so low, and they carried them all the way. Like, do you realize if you fast forward, Russell Westbrook would not have been in the play-in? So he took a team that just lost Kevin Durant for nothing, and he carried them to the 6th seed with a winning record. They would not have been in the play-in. It's different. It's like, oh, it's a play-in team. They just got their way in. No, he would have just been a top 6 seed and been in the playoffs with a team that no one thought was going to even get that far. And so because of how far they raised the floor, I understand why there was this caveat in the history of the NBA.
Definitely. I agree 100%. My moment, obviously we got a lot of to pick. My moment is the 2020 game, you know, for Nipsey Hussle.
Yes.
And
yes,
that's to me, I obviously Ross, we can mention, as you said, the triple double season and everything that he did it 4 times, 4 years.
Yes.
People so I've heard some people say, oh, he did it 2 years, 3 years. No, it's 4 years, man. Get your shit straight, but whatever. To me, it's the 2020 game, bro. What do you obviously you watch that game, but what do you think when or maybe in 20 more years, 30 more years, when someone is gonna tell another one, Russell Westbrook got 20, 20, and 20. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think? About that achievement or that game?
I think people won't be able to wrap their heads around it. Just like for so long, people couldn't wrap their heads around averaging a triple double. He's done that 4 times, especially because he's 6'3". Like, He's not 7 foot tall. No, he just went and snagged 20 rebounds at 6'3" in the NBA. And so I think people would just they won't believe it. But luckily we have tape and things like that now. Like how people don't believe that Will scored 100, and everyone's like,
Yep.
"Where's the tape?" Well, we have tape, and he was a 6'3" guard that went and got 20 rebounds, 20 points, and 20 assists. And it's just an incredible man. He's a special kind of player. He's one of one. There'll never be another, in my opinion. That's just how great he is.
I think you was about to mention two achievement and moments in his career. The first one was the triple double. What was the second?
The second, it was very, very. It was one of those things that just made me drop my jaw. I think it's the 2012 playoffs versus the Lakers. He steals the ball and he hits that acrobatic layup, and Kobe Bryant just can't believe it. When you make Kobe Bryant look defeated the way that you did, you're an excellent basketball player. That was one of that is just stuck in my head forever. Just one of those plays that, first of all, how the heck did he even finish it? And this look on Kobe Bryant's face is like, oh my gosh, this kid is something else. So definitely that was the second one.
Obviously Russ from being from LA, growing up like most of us, being a Kobe fan, it was very special. But that's a great transition into my third question on this interview, the 2012 finals. Obviously, that's the only time that Russell Westbrook and the OKC Thunder has gotten into the NBA Finals. They lost 4-1 to the Miami Heat, even though obviously the foul of LeBron against KD. Do you remember that play?
Yes. Yeah.
It was very controversial, but
It was.
LeBron won. Yeah. LeBron won his first title, and I'm gonna ask you about the criticism from Magic Johnson. I'm not gonna lie and say, oh, I watched the whole finals. No, I didn't. But but I know that Magic Johnson had some comments about Russell Westbrook. He called Russ' performance in the 2012 finals, if I'm not mistaken, one of the worst point guard performances in finals history. What do you make of those comments, and what do you think of what do you think about what's your evaluation of Russ in those finals?
Yeah, I didn't think Russell Westbrook was good in those finals at all. So I won't sugarcoat that. For the most part, I thought what Magic said was a bit overboard. Now, sometimes with players, like especially if you play the same position, like sometimes you be overly critical. I get that. He was not good, but I thought that was a bit much. And if people haven't, you can watch this documentary. It's on Max, on HBO, or Max, I think it's called now. And it's incredible. And he talks about how that made him feel because he thought it was overly critical. He didn't think he was wrong about his play. He just thought it was a bit much. And you got to remember, like KD and Russell Westbrook at the time, they were puppies. Like they're gonna like the Miami Heat. Like, come on, no one expected to beat the Miami Heat
with a young James Harden.
Yeah, like so. James Harden was not. He also was not good. And so that's what I mean. Like he was not good. They were puppies. They were so young, and that was probably the greatest trio ever put together in NBA history with those three. So with the Miami Heat. So. It's correct as far as like he wasn't good. Worst point guard performance of all time in playoff history seemed a bit much. That's my personal. But Magic, hey, like he's not probably. He's he's a GOAT point guard. So I guess he earned the right to say whatever he wants. I think it's a bit much though.
Definitely. I don't buy into the narrative. Oh, Steph is the greatest point guard ever. Then that's another topic for another day. Let me ask you this. That was a great response, by the way. Let me ask you this. The critics often point to the his turnovers, the decision making, the shooting, that he be shooting bricks all the time, and this and that. Do you think that those critiques are fair, or do you think that they overshadow his contribution?
I do think they overshadow his contributions because I think Russell Westbrook is the most misunderstood and polarizing basketball player of all time. That's truly what I believe. I'll address the shooting first. Russell Westbrook has never been a great shooter. That's not
per se. Yeah.
It's not how he wins games. It's not why he's great. He's going to shoot 30% from three his entire, like, that's just what he shoots. There's some outliers as far as he's better in the corners than what he is from above the break or at the top of the key. That's fine, but he's going to shoot around 31% from three. That's just who he's always been. So why are we critiquing him on his 3-point shooting? And so that's the first thing. Second, as far as the turnovers are concerned, man, look, I'll be honest with you. To me, he's one of the greatest passers of all time, and he is the greatest interior passer of all time, in my opinion, period. What he can do in the paint and how he can stick passes through traffic is just insane. Because Russell Westbrook can make every single pass with either hand, and he's unafraid.
Like the three-court bounce pass to Julian Strother the other day.
That pass is insane. so like because he can make all the passes with either hand, he's unafraid. He's gonna try passes that no one else tries. That's why he averages more turnovers than other point guards in the NBA. Like, that's because they just don't try that pass. Like Chris Paul, and I hate that Chris Paul, also one of the greatest point guards to ever play. This is not me ragging on him or anything like that. He's just not going to try half of the passes Russ tries. He's just not. He's going to be careful and calculated. And
it's like I don't know if you follow the NFL. It's like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, right?
Exactly. You know, they're just not going to. Some players are just, because football we call them game managers, right? There's game managers, and then there's like QBs who are going to take risks. You know what I'm saying?
Like gunslingers. Yeah.
Yeah, the guns like Drew Brees to me will try anything. He should try anything. Peyton Manning's a little bit more calculated. And so that's just my thing on his turnovers. It's like everyone has what they like to watch, right? What you prefer to watch, and that's fine. But you have to understand what it is that you're watching. He's trying passes no one else tries. And to me, there's a couple of passes in the NBA that no one else can do but Russell Westbrook. But most of the passes he makes, there's like 5 people in the entire NBA who can do them. Like Russ, LeBron, Luka, maybe Halliburton. There's just certain, like, no one else can make those passes but these 5 players. James Harden's another. And so, but he's going to try some that not even the other 4 will try, and that's why they do result in turnovers. And so I think the criticism overshadows his contribution, because Russell Westbrook, the pressure that he puts on the paint and defenses is what opens up the floor for his entire basketball team. And in that regard, sometimes he's going to turn it over. He's going to average 3.5 to 4 turnovers, but he's going to get you 9-10 assists, and now your ratio is 2.5 to 1 as far as assist to turnover ratio. You can live with that. That's just the Russell Westbrook experience.
That's a great way to put it. The Russell Westbrook experience. Let me ask you this next question. Obviously, we've seen Ross playing alongside KD, playing alongside Paul George, playing alongside James Harden, playing alongside LeBron James, and now he's playing with Nikola Jokic. What do you make? What's your assessment when it comes to Russell Westbrook being able to adapt, to different teammates, different not sets, but systems, and teams? What do you make about that throughout his career? Obviously, he's 36, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, he can still play a couple of more years, but what do you make about that in particular?
I'm glad we're talking about this, because he's really misunderstood here. So one thing I do want to say, and every now and then I kind of let people know stuff that the rest of the population doesn't really know. Russell Westbrook has never been a problem in any locker room, and he has always done exactly what the coaching staff has asked him to do. So I just want to put that out there. I know that for a fact. So some of the stuff that comes out about him as a teammate and how he's a vampire in the locker room.
Yeah, the fucking Lakers calling him a goddamn vampire.
So it's just not true. He's always done whatever the coach has asked. No questions, nothing like that. He's always been the ultimate teammate. And he has. He had run roll next to Kevin Durant, and he played that. They were just a dynamic duo. Personally wish they would have stuck together longer. and then he goes to Houston, and it's different, right? Like he's like this attacking combo guard.
He be
You
playing
know,
the
he's not.
five sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. He goes to Washington. Then he goes to Washington Wizards. He's just the point guard again, right? And I know he was injured, so a lot of people don't. He injured his quad in the bubble, plus caught COVID, right? Then he goes to DC, and he hurts his other quad, trying to favor his other quad, but during training camp. So he's playing the first half of the Wizards basically on one leg, right? Those last 20-something games when they go 17-6 and they had a less than 5% chance of making the playoffs, and they actually make it. Look, again, raising the floor. That Wizards team had no business making the playoffs. But they did once he got healthy because he just raises the floor. Then he goes to LA and his role is completely different. And he did everything Vogel asked, and he did everything Darvin Ham asked. And he sat in the corner in a dunker spot, not playing point guard at all for the most part. But what I will give the Lakers is that they did play him. He did play 30-plus minutes. And he goes to the Clippers, and he balls out for them. I mean, his run without it was just him and Kawhi, because Paul George got hurt when he first got there. So, and then they go like 11-5 in Paul George's absence. And Russell's the starting point guard. Then he goes to the playoffs without Kawhi or PG. Yeah, no one expects him to win those games, but he's single-handedly almost trying to keep them these teams competitive versus the Suns. Now, I want to give Powell credit because he did help a lot in a few of those games in that playoff series. But then they trade for James Harden, and he just after 5 years sits in the corner. And he just did it, and he did it, and he did it because that's what the team needed. Volunteers come off the bench, he sits in the corner. I went through all those to say he's always done what's best for the team. That stuff you hear about Russell Westbrook in the locker room is absolutely outrageous. That's why he just sat in the corner on those teams, because that's what they said they needed in order for them to win games. Now, to me, personally, that didn't make sense. You're trying to tell me you want to win games. You're playing Avery Bradley and people like that over Russell Westbrook, okay? And you're sitting him in the corner to do the one thing he's not great at. Still, one thing he's not great at is shooting threes. Nonetheless, that's what they told him. That's what he did.
Yeah, that's a great that's a great description of Russell Westbrook's career. I forgot to mention that he played also alongside Kawhi and PG. Again, he played with PG in OKC and on the Clippers. But one thing that I didn't like, and obviously we gotta say this, it's not the same signing Russell. It's not the same that the Nuggets signed Russell Westbrook for $3 million, that the Lakers giving up some players and draft picks in order to get Russ. That's a huge important thing. Obviously, we can say, oh, Russ is getting older. He's 36 now. He's starting to become. Obviously, he's still an amazing player, but he's now accepting the role of a vet. In those years, he wasn't a vet. He was still Russell Westbrook, even though he wasn't maybe one of the top five players in the league. But that's a huge important thing, that when he went to the Lakers, they gave up something to get him. When the Denver Nuggets signed him, they just signed him for $3 million. I think, or maybe I'm exaggerating. You tell me, is he the most valuable contract? According in comparison to his contract and what he's doing for the team, I think he's balling out, obviously, in a $3 million contract with the Nuggets.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Outside of the max contract players, he's the most valuable contract in the NBA. It just, with the production that he's giving the Denver Nuggets, period, this season, not let alone as a starter, of what he's averaging. This is a 15 to 20 million a year dollar player who's making $3.8 million.
He's undervalued. That's a great point.
Completely undervalued. And there's gonna have to be some decisions made next year, because Russell Westbrook has a player option. He's definitely worth 15 to 20 million the way he's playing. Will he get it, or will he take something less to stay with Denver Nuggets? Because the Denver Nuggets are really, really strapped as far as their salary cap is concerned. So I'm excited to see what he does there.
Definitely. And one thing that I didn't like or the way that it came out. Oh, LeBron, I didn't ask for Westbrook. No, that wasn't me. But what we see with Nikola Jokic advocated for or campaigned for Russell Westbrook. A lot of people thought it was not gonna work. I did think that it was gonna work, not to this extent maybe. I knew that it was gonna work because I trust Jokic. And that's another thing. Bruce Brown, were people talking about Bruce Brown the way that they were talking about after he won a title with Denver? No, Aaron Gordon, when he came to the Denver Nuggets, they were saying he's only a dunker. He only can dunk, and he lost a dunk contest and shit. He came to the Nuggets. He became a huge important piece for the puzzle, And that's another great point. Like, Denver has a great system. Obviously, got one of the greatest players ever. That's Jokic. But a lot of people don't like that shit. But fuck them. They got a system in place. They got a great fucking all-time player, and they can almost put everyone there and make it work. It didn't work with Ball and other players, but obviously Russ is a high IQ player. He has a great motor, and he has fit perfectly with the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, something that not many people knew would happen. I was one of the ones on my podcast saying, no, this is definitely going to work. Because Russell Westbrook, Nikola Jokic is a brilliant basketball player. Russell Westbrook is also a brilliant basketball player. And I think he knew Russell Westbrook is a player that can return the favor. I know as Jokic, can make other players better, but I know that guy is going to make me better, make my job easier, be able to feed me. So my job is easy. And just to watch, I have a video out there of every single Russell Westbrook to Nikola Jokic connection. It's so easy for him. And so that's why I knew it would work, is he has someone that's going to make the game easier for him rather than him making it easier for everyone, which is great because he makes Russell Westbrook easier too.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. And it's different playing alongside a great offensive player, a great scorer like Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to play with a great scorer and playmaker like James Harden. It's another thing to play with LeBron James. He's not even in his prime, obviously, at this age. Yep. And Kawhi Leonard, that is injured almost, for the last 4 years he has been injured in the playoffs. So it's obviously different playing with Jokic because Jokic can. I'm being simplistic. He can set a fucking screen. Have you ever seen Kevin Durant, Kawhi, James Harden, LeBron set a goddamn screen? Have you ever seen them get a goddamn offensive rebound? When Russell Westbrook shoots and he breaks that shot, who can be there? Boom, Jokic with the putback. Boom, boom. That's to me. I've been saying I think that Nikola Jokic is arguably the greatest offensive player ever. I really believe that. Obviously, since 2000, maybe we can compare him to LeBron, but the nuances in Jokic game, like I was saying, the screen game, facilitating out of the post, and he's not a ball hog. I'm not saying that Kevin Durant was a ball hog or LeBron is a ball hog, but Jokic is something that we have never seen.
Yeah, it works with Jokic a lot because I don't want to call him ball hogs either, but he's anti-ISO, right? Yeah. He's an offensive flow type of star player. Like, he wants cuts and staggered screens. He's very anti-isolation. Now, in order for the two-man game of him and Murray to work, which is excellent, he does have to let Murray just cook with the ball. Like, that's just kind of who Murray is, and he's the greatest big game, one of the greatest big game players that there is, and Jamal Murray. But for the most part, he's very anti just bring the ball off the court ISO. He wants cuts and run throughs and staggered screens and Spain pick and rolls and inverted pick and rolls between him and Russ. Like, he wants that type of flow. That's what makes it so easy. He doesn't need to get his points in isolation. Yep. I knew that he was a great passing big, probably the best ever. But what I was surprised about, yeah. But
probably,
I know. But what I will, because I can't really think of anyone off the top of my head that I think is like there are some great ones out
They be
there.
trying to say, oh, Arvidas Sabonis, oh, Will
Bonus, he was
Chamberlain.
good. Yeah, and the Sabonis was really good too. D-Box is pretty good too, but not at the volume that Jokic does it from. Um, it's I was shocked about how much movement that he wants on the offensive end every single game, like all 82 games. Like it's one thing to watch him in the playoff series, right? Because like, all right, the Denver Nuggets are playing in the playoffs, so I'm gonna watch. But to watch the entire season so far, how much movement he likes at his stardom is unique. The only other player I think is wants it more, but it's more he does on his own is Steph Curry. But he's doing the moving. It's just incredible. He has a ball in his hands and wants a ton of movement. He doesn't want to ISO. He will if he has to, but it's not really what he wants to do.
Oh, and that another thing. Was Kevin Durant ever a great post player? Was LeBron ever a great post player? Was Kawhi ever a great? Was he ever a great post player? No, that's another difference. He's playing with a great, probably the best. He's the best post player in the league. That's another difference. It's not the same playing with KD, with LeBron, with Kawhi, with Harden, with Paul George than with a center. With a point center, first point center maybe ever. But another thing about Russell Westbrook, he will run through a motherfucking wall. He will fucking snatch your motherfucking heart in order to win. And that's what Jokic, obviously, Ross got a huge talent when it comes to passing, being able to play 2 games in one night. He's like the Duracell or Energizer bunny. But that's another huge thing because as a Denver Nuggets fan, I've been dealing with Jamal Murray being goddamn inconsistent year in and year out. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Russell Westbrook came into training camp when he won MVP out of shape?
No.
Hell no.
Never
that's another thing. That's another thing with Jamal Murray. Oh, he starts slow. He's averaging 18, then he goes to 19, then goes to 20. I don't like that shit. You obviously, Jokic maybe does the same thing, but Jokic is so fucking great. We're not gonna put never Jamal Murray and Jokic in the same stratosphere. And that's another thing. To have 2 players, your two main players, not being great in great shape year in and year out, and not being great defensively. Jokic can be trash, and Jamal Murray might be a little bit maybe average on defense. That winning a championship with 2 players that are not in shape year in and year out, and being not a liability on defense, but not being great on defense, that's a huge thing. And that's another thing that Jokic saw in Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook at 36 is in better shape than Jamal Murray at 27, and that shit is fucking sad. And I don't want to go on a rant about Jamal Murray because that's my reaction to Jamal Murray. It is what it is.
Yeah, I hear you. Russell Westbrook, he's never been out of shape a day in his life as a pro, and even in college. It's very, very important to him. He gets antsy when he can't get to his workout at the exact time he wants to. He's got a family now, but yeah, he's gonna always be in trouble. So that's why I think he can play 4 more years, even at his height. Like when you think about playing to your that age, you really think they're going to diminish a lot, but still because they're smart, they can still keep playing. But the reason why Russell Westbrook can grab a rebound and then take off like he did a couple nights ago, and then do an acrobatic finish is because he's just in better shape than 99% of the people in the league. Yeah, he's just he works out twice a day, 3 hours a day. Like he's just insane. I don't think people know that.
And you remember when Pat Beverly said that, oh, I saw Ross eating lettuce and shit, eating salad, and he be strong like a motherfucker. That's crazy. And let me ask you this. If you have to describe Ross in one word, what word that would be?
Authentic.
Wow.
He's as authentic as it gets. He's the most authentic person that you will run into. That's the reason why he's able to kind of deal with a lot of things that he deals with. But I don't want to get into it. But with fans and the media and things like that, he absolutely he absolutely always chooses the high road. He's as authentic as it gets. He is who he is 100% of the time, and he's unapologetic about that. That would be the one word I would use to describe him.
Yeah, that's a great word to describe Russell Westbrook. Let me ask you another question. I don't want to take advantage of your time. I know you're very busy. One thing that you wish people know better or understood better understood better about Russell Westbrook, what would it be? Something that that you wish people know or understand better about Russell Westbrook.
He's an extremely selfless person. That would be the one thing as far as like his personality is concerned that I wish that people knew. The fire and passion, like that's his, for lack of a better term, that's his basketball persona, right? That's just, he loves playing the game. He doesn't take it for granted. And so that's the legacy he wants to give off. It's like, I give it 110% every time I step on the floor. I play the game even when I'm injured because I know there's someone somewhere, this is their only game that they're able to go to.
Yep.
And they may have paid $20 for the nosebleeds all the way at the top to see me play. So I'm going to play. He's the most selfless person that I just ever had the privilege of meeting. And it's really misunderstood because of his monstrous attitude on the floor. Aren't we all competitive when we play sports? Like, I thought like, why do people think that that's his actual personality beyond the basketball court? That to me is like surprising. But he's just a very, very selfless person, man. He really is.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I'm not gonna say that the Denver Nuggets were soft. Maybe they were soft, or maybe they weren't soft, but they didn't have an enforcer. I'm not gonna call Russ a dirty player because he's not. But when who was that play with? Isaiah Stewart, I think, and Russ was like, "What? You know?"
Yeah.
Denver, obviously, when Russell Westbrook came to the Nuggets, I follow a lot of journalists and beat reporters from the Denver Nuggets. I think it was important to mention that Russell Westbrook wasn't replacing KCP. Russell Westbrook was replacing Bruce Brown or Christian Brown in the goddamn bench. And I think that's why I thought it was going to work, because Russell Westbrook is like the closest facsimile to Bruce Brown. They are guards. They can play similar. Obviously, Russ is better. Now he's better, but that's why I thought it was going to work, because it would be very easy for people to say, oh, he's going to replace KCP. He cannot shoot, and KCP, blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. Russ didn't came into the Nuggets replacing KCP.
No, he did not. Russell Westbrook was brought in to be the backup point guard. Like, that's like not KCP. You're correct. And he's just like the play the other day, him, Jamal Murray, and Jokic decide that they're going to run a 3-man pick and roll, right? It was basically it was pretty much above the break. I wouldn't say it was quite the top of the key. It was all off instinct. And when he decides to cut, Russ decides to cut off of Jamal Murray and Jokic has the ball, I'm thinking, yeah, guys, see, that's a better, more athletic, faster, stronger Bruce Brown. Like, that's what it was, and he just finishes it easily. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he was brought in to be the backup point guard, but they're just playing off of instinct, and it's really incredible to watch them play. Him, Murray, like he's messed with not just Jokic, he's messed with all of the starters.
And he's not taking away shine from Christian Brown or Peyton Watson. He's encouraging them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the ultimate teammate, man. He's as authentic as it gets. And it's fun watching them play off. And it's funny because, for so long, people said that Russell Westbrook didn't have basketball IQ. And that was one of the craziest statements I've ever heard. I'm like, bro, he's a super intelligent basketball player. Like, those cuts are not design cuts. That's just him and Jokic just being two of the most cerebral basketball players in the NBA. And they're just playing off each other. It's just beautiful to watch.
Definitely. It has been a great interview, man. Let me ask you the last question. Once again, I appreciate you being here. We've had a great conversation. Hopefully, everybody that is watching right now and will be watching later can appreciate our conversation. Let me ask you this last one. What would you say would be Russell Westbrook legacy in 20, 30 more years or 50 years, let's say? Obviously, as we was talking off air, he's a fashion icon. I really like that about Russ, even though he maybe in the past used to wear something that was out of pocket, but that's Russ. That's his personality, and I salute for doing that. Because I wouldn't like every player dressing like Tim Duncan. When he got his MVP with I don't like
Yeah.
that. I don't like. Maybe I don't like Kuzma either. Kyle Kuzma with the fucking balloons and shit. The fucking pink sweater, like
The
4XL,
fashion.
5XL. Yeah, but Russ is Russ. He's the most athletic point guard ever, and he's Mr. Triple Double. Obviously, I joke about that. Maybe Jokic can snatch that nickname. But what would you say would be Russell Westbrook legacy?
Yeah, I do think what most people will say is that he's one of the greatest point guards of all time. I think that's what his legacy, despite I know right now people don't like to say that. I think that's what they'll say in 10, 20 years is that he's just one of the, in my opinion, top 5 point guards of all time. And that's what I think it will be. But one of the things I'm hoping for him and knowing his personality that's also taken with that is that he's one of the biggest philanthropists in the NBA. Like he just does so many things for every single city that he's been in all the time. And a lot of it like doesn't even see the light. A lot of it doesn't get published by a reporter or anything like that. He just
something similar with Kyrie Irving, right?
Yes,
similar with Kyrie Irving, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they only talk about the bad things, right?
Yep. Yeah. And Kyrie's another one. Like he's just one of the biggest philanthropists. He just cares about people so much. He's so selfless that he does a ton. I mean, in every community, Houston, OKC, LA, DC, anywhere he's been, he's doing so much for the communities that he's been in, and underprivileged communities as well, and just minorities altogether as well. And that's something I hope gets said down the line. Those things are a little bit harder to kind of like take to live that long. People tend to forget unless you're, Martin Luther King or, something like that. But I'm hoping that resonates as well to everyone 10, 20, 30 years from now. And I have to give up to Miss Westbrook, Miss Nina Westbrook. She's right there at the forefront and those type of things as well. And so I hope that that's part of it. I really do. And I try my best to make sure I mention it every now and then on my Twitter page and on my podcast as well, that he's just an incredible, like I said, he's authentic.
Definitely. That was a great answer. Before we go, I need to ask you this question. How many 30, 10 games in the regular season Russell Westbrook got?
30, 10, 10?
No,
I'm
30, 10, and 10. Like a 30 point triple double in the regular season only.
I'm not. So he's got 202. 30, 10, and 10? We'll take a wild guess. I don't know. He's done that. His MVP season, he had to have maybe, seems like 30 of them. That's what it feels like. I don't know. So he's got 202, 30, 10, and 10. I'm not sure. It's got to be upwards of 30. And maybe I'm remembering wrong, but it feels like he had so many his MVP season. You have it? You have that? That's that?
Yeah, he's second all time, only behind Russell Westbrook, only behind Oscar Robertson. He's got 48, 30, 10, and 10 games in the regular season only.
That's insane. Yeah, he's incredible, man. And the way that he does it, the most athletic point guard in the NBA. I mean, he's in the 96th percentile in offensive rebounding this season. He's a 60 point guard.
Can you please share your X account? You do a great breakdown when it comes to numbers and videos and all these things. Can you share your account, please?
Yeah. So if you like to follow me, it's JD Jackson at the West Wolf Pod on Twitter, and then it's like I said, it's a Wolf Podcast on YouTube as well. And I break down the advanced numbers because I do believe in eye test combined with the advanced stats and your standard stats as well. And just so people know, Russell Westbrook is basically at the top of the list in many advanced stats when it comes to him starting for the Denver Nuggets. Now, I don't believe that when Gordon's ready that he'll continue to start. Whether or not that's the right decision is another discussion. But as a starter, he's right at the top in every advanced metric there is. Even rebounding at 6. Like your point guard being in the 96th percentile in rebounds, and then your center being in the 99th percentile. And offensive rebounds is just, that's how they win games, even though they don't shoot a lot of threes.
No, maybe we get maybe in a near future we can talk about that, because people say, oh, they don't shoot many threes, but they don't say that the Denver Nuggets are leading the league in points in the paint. They are leading the league in assists per game. They are leading the league in free throws attempted per game. They are not talking about that. And
transition points.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's a huge. Oh, and Westbrook, I think he's shooting his best percentage from 0 to 3 feet in his career. He's shooting like over 60% at the rim this season. That's crazy.
That's correct. That's correct. So as of yesterday, he is shooting 65.7% at the rim. If he keeps that up, this would be the best finishing season of his entire career. So not like even in his younger years, that's how well he is finishing at the rim. Now, part of it is, for whatever reason, Russell Westbrook, like, once he gets minutes and he gets a rhythm, like, he looks 28 again, right?
Yep.
And another reason, obviously, is just Nikola Jokic is just such a brilliant basketball player that it's the two of them together is making it really easy for him. But his finishing, they're acrobatic, and he had an off night last night. I won't get into why that is, but he's having, and in the month of since December 1st, it's over 70%.
Damn!
Since December 1st, he is tied for first as the best finisher in the NBA. That's
maybe with Giannis, probably.
No, it's not Giannis. It was a center though. Was it Kessler? It might have been Kessler.
With a high field percentage, right?
Yeah, but Giannis is, like, I think in the top 5, because he basically doesn't ever miss in there either. But yeah, so the 6'3" point guard would be he's the shortest on the list.
Oh yeah,
and he's tied for first. I think second on the list is Shea. He's 6'6". So even for Shea, that's incredible that he's even up there with the bigs too. Another OKC guard, SGA. So yeah. So definitely follow me, JD Jackson at the Westcliff Podcast, if you really, really want breakdown, and not just breakdown, even just the Nuggets, and what they're doing. And yeah, I definitely have all the advanced stats to help anyone, drive their points home in those social media discussions.
That's a great way to put in it. And obviously, when I do the breakdowns of that I'm gonna do later today, I really focus on in other things. I mean, among other things, the amount of dunks that the Denver Nuggets has had this season. I don't got the exact number, but I really like Jokic throwing lobs, Michael Porter Jr. getting dunks, Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Julian Strawler, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown. It's like Jokic can dunk too, but it's like he's having a great supporting cast of athletes around him. Because Jokic can jump over a goddamn phone book. So it was a great conversation. It was a great conversation. Once again, go follow JD Jackson on Twitter at the Wolf, the West Wolf Pod, right?
Yes, correct. Yep. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So hopefully y'all enjoy this podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Mario Perandi podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow, share, and leave a review or a comment wherever you get your podcast. I don't upload this podcast on Spotify. Maybe I'll do it in the future. So until next time, we'll catch you next time on Mario Perandi podcast. Until then, take care and see you on the other side. Thanks, JD, for being here with us. It was a great show, man. I appreciate you.
No problem at all. Appreciate you so much for having me on.
So we out. Me and JD, we knocked that shit out of the park. It was a home run. So hopefully we can have you here in the future, man. I appreciate you, and salute, and blessings to you and your family, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. So until next time, we out.
Peace.